Hi, my name is Julius Pakyam, and I'm a music director based in Mumbai. And I'm here today to talk about the subject Invisible Waves, Visible Effect. When I first got this subject, I thought maybe I have to talk about invisible waves emitted by cell phone towers, having a visible effect on birds and other animal species. But I'm not qualified for that. Rather, I'll talk about a different set of invisible waves, having a very different visible effect. Take a look. So, what did you experience in that 1 minute video? Somewhere halfway through, you might have felt there was something wrong with your speaker or there was something wrong with your headphone. But actually, what I had done was remove the music for those 15 seconds. And then perhaps you might have experienced an emptiness, a void for those 15 seconds. That something was missing, something's lacking. The intensity of the scene itself dies. You lose that energy and the suspense and everything. Those feelings are somewhat, distracted. You'd feel distracted. There's something wrong. It doesn't sound complete. So basically, I'm here today to talk about the invisible waves of background music in a film and the very visible effect it has on us, the audience. So to start off, I'll start with a brief history of background music. So the slide said brief history of film scores. So film scores and background music are more or less the same thing. The word score means music. So I want to go into the history of background music. It started from the very beginning of filmmaking itself. Filmmaking started, say, around the end of 1800s. So from 1890 to about 1930, the era was known as the silent era, where films were made. There was no dialogue. All dialogues were put in subtitling, and there was only music and sound effects. If you remember the movies or the films of Charlie Chaplin and Laurel and Hardy, they had no dialogues, but they had music played at the background and sound effects, and that was very effective. That was a great instrument to channel the emotion with all the action happening, and the audience used to have a great time watching these films even today. After the silent era, then music was made by like small jazz bands. Then they went on to use like big jazz bands, big bands. Orchestras were involved in making music for films, and so much so they became very popular. Lots of films became popular because of the musical themes that were created for these films. If very popular themes are the James Bond theme, the theme from Good, Bad and Ugly, and the theme from Godfather, Star Wars, very famous. Our very own Sholay and Dawn, very famous themes were made out of that. So that became the trend. Every character would have a theme, like the main actor would have a theme, the main villain also would have a theme, and themes were used all along the filmmaking process, all through these decades. And as the trend of music kind of molded or modified itself and reshaped itself into whatever was trendy in the pop culture, the music of films also kind of morphed into that, or kind of used the same trends in terms of its creativity, in terms of its sound palette. So music can be very powerful in setting up a scene. Like, we don't notice the music up front, but it's there in the background, and it has a very like a visceral effect on the audience. For example, if there's a romantic scene, the music that is playing behind will be very subtle, but we as the audience will fall in love with the characters in that scene. And when it's an emotional scene, again, music will be in the right mood for us to cry when the actors are crying on scene. Then when it's an action scene, I remember as a kid I would go to movies, and when the hero would be beating up the goons, I would be shadow boxing on my seat and thinking that I was beating up the goons myself. So it has a very very strong how to say effect on the audience. We actually get transported into the world of the film that we are watching. Into we feel the characters' emotions. When they are angry, we feel angry. We get emotionally involved, invested in those scenes. So in spite of the characters' performances, the music that supports those performances, you know, makes the whole effort watertight to to capture the audience's attention. Our next heading, which is there is no one way, which is the right way to create music. So background music, like any other art form, is subjective. It will vary from director to director. Say, for example, if there's a scene where the hero is pumping bullets in slow motion from magazines in a machine gun onto his the villains or the goons or the the enemies. Uh, this one director might want an entire 60-piece orchestra with pumping music and big percussion drums banging down on that scene. Whereas another director might say, I just want like a classical guitar playing flamenco on an acoustic guitar, or something like that, a slow piece like that, which has a totally different kind of a score or an effect on the audience. So it's up to the director's vision and how he wishes to, portray a scene, whether he wants to make it like an action-packed, impactful, bombastic scene, or he wants to make it very poetic. So there's no one right way. The director gives us a brief. He gives us a brief as to what kind of music he's looking at, what kind of style, what instrumentation, whether he wants very subtle instrumentation or he wants an entire orchestra scoring the film. And then with that brief, I go to my team. My team does programming and arranging of music on computers, on laptops or desktops or whatever, and their entire library of sounds is within that machine, and they are able to create music. They can create orchestras as well as a single instrument, and it sounds very very real. It'll be I can be honest by saying that it's very difficult to distinguish between an orchestra made on a laptop from an orchestra actually playing live. Once our programming stage is over, we go to a studio and record live instruments. We record anything from guitars to vocals to very exotic instruments, and sometimes we record an entire live orchestra. We record them online with an orchestra abroad, or we call in musicians here and we record an entire orchestra here. So that depends, it's a matter of choice. Then once that is done, we go to a studio and mix the entire thing. So the entire background music is mixed to a certain level. From that stage, it goes on to a film mix studio where the engineer there mixes the background music, the dialogues and the sound effects, and makes a master which goes on, gets slapped onto the final film. So I wanted to talk about my work environment, rather our work environment. I usually work with about 4 to 5 guys on a project, and well, they are much younger than me, and there's a reason for that. I feel younger, I think younger, and more importantly, they are far more tech savvy than I am, because being a very tech-oriented profession, they are, they are in touch with the, the advancements in the technological field, and they also much better at the job than I am. I mean, I make them do most of the work. I hardly do the work. And yes, I do ideate, and I supervise, and I share ideas with them and stuff like that. But yeah, we when we work, our atmosphere is very, very, kind of cool and friendly, and there's no hierarchy, there's no seniority. We are all equals, so to speak. And yeah, we indulge in a lot of humor. There's a lot of humor. We laugh a lot. We play a lot of sport. In fact, guys from the other departments will poke their head and ask us, why are you guys laughing so much, and why is there so much noise from your room? And we play sport, we play cricket, we play soccer, we watch movies together, we listen to music together, and we eat our meals together. I mean, it's a pretty cool environment. It's a very, very friendly and chilled environment. And yeah, we there's a lot of fun. So it's when we are working, I'm not very comfortable with the word work. We are not really working, we are creating, and uh, we are having fun. And so that's a very, how to say, privileged position to be in. It's probably the best profession in the world for me. And yes, I wanted to share that it's such a privilege that I have this profession, and we have fun while making our music, and our uh, entire experience is awesome. So now I will talk about my journey. As a child, I was exposed to all kinds of music, all genres of music, from the popular music of the 1940s and 50s and 60s, to jazz, to rock, to Western classical, to Carnatic music, to Hindi film music, to ghazals, to fusion music. And so that created a very strong foundation in terms of my knowledge for music and enjoying my journey with music. I really, really loved music. It was seriously my passion. I would spend every waking moment listening to music and playing with musicians and stuff like that. And so much so that I ignored my academic career substantially. I took the plunge of quitting college at one point. Everybody was like shocked, like cannot do this. Please finish your graduation as a backup. But I didn't understand that word backup. It didn't hold any water for me. I was just, in my horse's blinders, just focused on my passion for music, and I wanted to do music for the rest of my life. And when you have that kind of drive, that kind of tenacity, that belligerence, that this is exactly what I want to do for the rest of my life, the universe kind of works along with you and creates opportunities. Then a friend of mine was doing his first film, Kabul Express in Bombay, and he asked me, "Can you come and do the background score for that?" And I jumped up at the offer, and I came to Mumbai, and I did the score. The score was very well appreciated, and I went back to Delhi to do my regular work there in the studio. And what followed was his second movie in 2009, which was New York, and I came back to Mumbai again to do it. And when I came for the second time, I realized that I don't want to go back to Delhi. I just want to make a living here, and I felt that this is where the wealth is. I'm sorry, this is where the well is. Freudian slip. But yeah, I mean, I decided to go back, tell my folks that yes, I'm going to Bombay. I'm going to make a go for it in Bombay in music, and yeah. Went to my studio, tore down everything, took all my gear, put it in the car, and drove one fine morning with a colleague uh, with a bag full of dreams and hopes, and came to Mumbai, and the rest is history. I'm here today speaking with you guys about how music is made in a film as a music director. So, in conclusion, I want to quote Mark Twain, rather paraphrase a quote of his, where he said that if you make your passion your profession, you'll never have to work a single day in your life. And that's pretty much been what my journey has been so far. It's been a wonderful, I mean, full of excitement and fun. And there have been challenging times too, and those challenging times are important. Along with the bouquets come the brickbats, and the bouquets are great, but the challenging times teach you much more, and they are far more important. They shape your character, and the lessons learned from it are even greater. And I've kept that in mind, and I hope to follow in the future and do even better work than I've done so far. So, in a nutshell, I want to say that uh, I think my dreams came to me through invisible ways, and I sit here in front of you giving my testimony as a very visible effect in this position as a music director. So, all the very best. Follow your dreams. Best of luck in your lives, and yeah, do well. Cheers, and stay blessed. Bye bye.